Welcome back to part 2 of the sine rule. We've got the learning intention of calculating a missing angle using the formula A over sine A, B over sine B, C over sine C. Now, I'm just going to make it clear, what you do here is nearly 100% identical down to this line here, okay? And all it is you have to, at that point, use the inverse function of sine or cos, like you do in SOHCAHTOA, like you do in the cosine rule for angles. So if you're looking for an angle, at some point you're going to have to do sine inverse in trig, and if we accept that and we move on, we will get along just fine with the sine rule part 2. Now, I am going to label all of my sides, and what I'm going to bring back to us is what I said before. The one angle that is in both the sine rule and the cosine rule is angle A. And in the cosine rule, that would be the angle we were looking for. So when you label your sides and your angles, if you are looking for an angle, label that one A, okay? It didn't matter when we did it for the sides because we weren't looking for an angle. So we could name either of them A, that wouldn't be a problem here. If you're looking for it, name it. Then little a, and then for the fun of it, because we did it with B last time, let's do it with C this time. We have side C and we have angle C. And B is going to be that other pair. Now, we make our list. This hasn't changed, so we have A, B, C, A, B, C. A is going to be X, big A, big A is X, little a is 10. We don't have B, we don't have C, we don't have little b, we don't have big C. I don't know what's happened to me today. We have 13 for our side, and we have 95 for big C, our angle. Now I am going to teach you a little trick here. Before you start thinking about substituting in, now bearing in mind we've gone, well, this is one set, this is the other set, so we're using the sine rule because we have the 2 rows. We don't have B, so we're not going to use B. So once you've said that to yourself, this is the little trick. To save you having to do rearranging later, or something called cross multiplication, we are actually allowed to flip this entire equation on its head, okay? So instead of having A on the top of this fraction, we're going to have sine A, and instead of having C on the top of this fraction, we're going to have sine C. So once you've labelled your sides, you've worked out you're using the sine rule, you've decided which bit of the sine rule you're not using, I want you, for your very first step in your working, just to flip it upside down. Because if you're not confident in your rearranging of algebra, this will save you having to do any of that. So here we are, we've got the exact same formula, it's just flipped on its head. So we are going to have A is X over little a, we're going to have sine X over little a, which is 10, sine C, so sine of 95 over C, which is 13. And this is then the exact same as the last question. We want to get rid of this bit on the bottom, and it will go to the other side. So the 10 is going to go across, on the other side it's going to multiply. So we now have sine X equals sine of 95 over 13 times 10. And this is that little extra step we have to do because it's an angle. We have to get the sine to the other side, and when we do, it's going to be sine inverse. So we are going to have X equals sine inverse of sine 95 over 13 times 10. Now I'm aware, depending on the calculator you've got, you're going to want to do one of two different things. I hate to be a brand ambassador, but you know what? The Casio does it well. I'm sure there's others, but in schools this is obviously the one we talk about and we prefer. So we have sine 95 divided by 13 times 10. Now, if your calculator isn't capable of doing it all at once and you want to do it in 2 steps, this is the best way to do it. You work out what's in there and you store that as an answer in your calculator. Then we do shift, sign, answer, and out comes very, very easily our angle. So you copy it out, you make it clear that it goes on, you recognise that fact, and then you can just round it to 50 degrees. Okay? So in terms of steps, it does appear there's a lot more to do here. Sine rule for length, I think, is the one which is the fastest out of all the sine rules and the cos rules. But if we look at them side by side, I don't know how easily we can do that. The steps are pretty much the same. You label angle A first. If you're looking for an angle, you make sure that's the angle called A. You make your list, you find which 2 sets you're using. Here, we just need to flip our equation, substitute, rearrange, put it in the calculator, solve. Substitute, rearrange, put it in the calculator and solve. The steps are similar. You just need to do a couple of little tricks in here, such as flipping the equation and using sine inverse. Okay? I hope that has helped clarify the sine rule for you. And as ever, the most important thing between the sine rule and the cos rule, sine, you have the 2 rows, cos, you will have that column of information. Okay?